Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, NBC Sports, and CNBC News radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, almost said Streaker, Audible, Amazon Music, iTunes, TuneIn, and more. Because, you know me, I am on a happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. So I need as many platforms as possible to fulfill my mission. And to do so as well, I bring on topics and guests that help us be happier. Now, some of you have said, why do you use so many eights? 88, happy 88 mission, 88% happy, why 8? Well, I know you thought I was Swedish. If you're listening to my voice, I'm actually Chinese, and 8 is a lucky number in Chinese. It's a homophone. I've been saying a homonym, and that's wrong. It's a homophone for good fortune. Because in Mandarin, here's your Chinese lesson for the day, ba is 8, and fa is good fortune. So that's how that happens. And I say 88% happy because if we're 100% happy, we're dead. And I do not want dead people walking around. 88% is a pretty good goal. It's most of the time happy. We have to not always be happy because then there would be no contrast. So occasionally, 12% of the time, I am not happy. I'm sad or frustrated or pissed off or angry or depressed or lonely. But those things are minor. They're 12% of the time. And it gives me enough to know that I don't feel good when I'm in that. I don't feel good when I'm pissed off. I don't feel good when I'm ranting and raving and boo-hooing and blaming and victiming and all of that. I just don't feel good. And my job in life for myself is to feel as good as possible, as much as possible. And I'm not talking about selfish good, even though selfish good is good. Somehow, I think religion and family cultures have made pleasure and selfishness something bad. And so what we do is we try to please everybody all the time, and we're exhausted running around trying to meet everybody else's needs. And then we get to that point where we're just like so exhausted, we just want to give up. And that's not good. So selfishness is not bad. Self-care is how I want to call it so that it doesn't trigger anybody. Self-care is so important, especially now with the pandemic. So I give you tips like now on how to do that so that you can start your day as positively as possible. Because the more positive you are when you leave my show, the better things are going to happen because you're going to be looking, you're primed to see what is good, what is wonderful about this thing called life. All right. So we start with 8 gratitudes every morning. It's called taking a bite of my gratitude sandwich. So take a bite of the gratitude, 8 specific things that you are grateful for. Can you name them right now? I'll give you a little helping hand. I'm grateful for this show where I get to make myself feel better when I talk because I'm motivating you and me at the same time. I'm grateful for the delicious feeling of my comforter in my bed. I'm grateful that I have hot showers in the morning to get ready. I'm grateful that I have a plethora of clothes in my closet to choose from. I'm grateful that that first sip of coffee is so delicioso that I just, it's wonderful. It never gets old. That's 5. I'm grateful for 2 beautiful inside and out daughters that live in Northern California and that like to call me and talk to me, which is great. And number 7, I just found out that, guess what? Because of the pandemic, I've had to pre-record, and I have done a live show for 7 years. And so during the pandemic, it has been tough because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. And so, editing and all that. But the great news is I am about to start up my daily morning show live at 8 a.m. So I don't have to edit anymore. And that makes me very happy. That's number 7. And number 8, I am so grateful that all of you listening, old and new listeners, this past 552 consecutive weeks on the air, thank you so much for all of the positive messages and comments. Those of you who don't have anything nice to say, I'm not talking about you. I'm not thanking you. But I would say 98% of the feedback I get is so positive. And thank you so much. I'm so grateful that I have appreciative people, that I get to do what I love, that I don't have to feel ashamed of speaking out like I did as a child because of my culture, but that this is my job. So thank you very much. There's 8 things. So see how quickly that was. I did not write it down. I didn't memorize it. I want you right now, pull over 8 specific things that you are grateful for, because that will cement your foot in #positively opinionated area, so that when you go forth and continue, you are primed to see what you're grateful for, to see what is good with what's around you, to see what's good in other people. And if you develop this as a habit, if you go on this diet of a gratitude sandwich every day, and then the bottom of the bun at the end of the day before you go to bed, you are very clear about how good you are. So the bottom of the bun is 8 specific things that you are grateful for yourself, that you appreciate about yourself, that you know that you can stroke yourself and say, that was really great how you finished this, how you did this even though you didn't want to, how you were nice to this person even though you didn't want to be, how you didn't have to apologize for anything. So 8 specific things before you go to bed that you were able to do, think, have, accomplish. And that is probably even more important than the top of the bun, because a lot of us are unhappy. We're not 88% happy because we're looking for love in all the wrong places. We've got our antenna out. We're constantly looking around. Who likes me? How many likes am I getting? Who's saying nice things? Who's smiling at me? Who's telling me I'm wonderful? Who thinks I'm wonderful? Who's putting me on a pedestal? And honestly, that is the most exhausting way for self-care, because it's so conditional on other people's responses to you. And one of my favorite authors and teachers and guests on my show, Don Miguel Ruiz, says, we're all the main actor in our own play, and everyone else is not your supporting actor. They all have their own show, their own play. So if you can learn how to appreciate yourself, the bottom of the bun, then I promise you, your entire level of happiness is going to change, because you're not going to need nor focus on insults, pissed offedness, anger, envy. All of those things go by the wayside if you take a bite of my gratitude sandwich every single day. Just try it. Try it for 3 days in a row and see what happens. And then if it feels good, try it for 7 days. because I promise you, you're going to get a better night's sleep thinking about how cool you are versus thinking about who pissed you off and said what, or the last thing that you didn't finish. It's no wonder people have problems falling asleep. Okay, so that's your Happy 88 challenge today. Take a bite of my gratitude sandwich. And because I'm going to be going live in a couple of weeks, I also am going to start a compliment hotline. So if you have a compliment that you want to give somebody on the air, you're going to be able to do so when you call into my show between 8 and 9 every weekday morning. And I have 2 guests today. The first is going to be Jeanniey Walden, who is going to talk to us about America Savings Week, which is now, and all kinds of tips on how we can save money and not lose money. So that's when we come back after this break. And then following that is a spotlight again, marking the importance of Black History Month again, this time with someone I met through Akuyo and her Spirit Awakening Foundation. His name is Pluto Brown, and I call him my poet, Pluto. He's going to come and give you an amazing poem that you will say, that's like of the genre of Amanda Gorman. And if you don't know that name, if you did not watch the Biden inauguration, I don't care what your politics are, you have to listen to the words of Amanda Gorman. I'm sure they're on YouTube or something. Just absolutely phenomenal. And then you'll understand why I call poet Pluto my own Amanda Gorman. And he's going to share his own poem as well as chat with me about what inspires him and what it's like to be a Black man in America. That's when we come back here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You are tuned into Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, NBC Sports, and CNBC News radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. And on my YouTube channel, where you can listen and watch the show on a playlist that has all of my 644 shows, as well as my red carpet playlist. Halle Berry, John Travolta, Quincy Jones, Lieutenant Uhura, Olympic gold, New York Times best-selling authors like, I was going to say Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Sparks and more. So free subscribe on my YouTube channel, and then you'll get an alert every time a new show drops at 8 a.m. every morning. All right. And as promised, we're going to talk about America Savings Week with my special guest, Jeanniey Walden. Enjoy.
Good morning. This is Dr. Marissa. You know me as the Asian Oprah. And, sometimes I like to bring you some interesting things that come up on my radar. And America Saves Week is an annual call to action to encourage people to commit to saving on a regular basis. Joining us with timely saving tips is Jeanniey Walden, financial expert, author, and chief information and marketing officer for Daily Pay, a technology company who partners with America's leading employers to offer the powerful on-demand pay benefit. Walden is the host of Stepping Up, a podcast that inspires and encourages women entrepreneurs. She has also launched 5 companies of her own, including the Email Experience Council, and was recently named Transformational CMO of the Year by the CMO Club. Please welcome to my show, Jeanniey Walden.
Thanks so much for having me on. I'm so honored to speak with you today.
Absolutely. So how can people continue to save for the future when the present has become so expensive?
You know, it's pretty crazy out there. I bought an avocado yesterday that cost $3 just for one avocado. And I know I kind of cringe when I buy chicken or gas too. So prices have definitely gone up, but there's so many incredibly creative ways that you can save and stay ahead of the 7% inflation rates that we're seeing right now. You just need to know where to look.
So where do you look?
Well, the first place that I'm recommending is you start with your employer. It sounds silly, and everyone is probably aware of some benefits that employers offer, like a 401k or a 401k match. But what you might not be aware of is all of the creative benefits they put in place during the pandemic to attract and retain workers. Things that include free lunches, free transportation to and from work, free child care credits, free business book reimbursement, free training for professional development. And if you look in your company's healthcare programs, you can unlock even more things. Like at my company, I just learned that we have a free annual membership to Peloton, and that we also have, certain free medical checkups throughout the year that I wasn't taking advantage of. So just by starting there, spend a little time, you can get discounts, you can get free access, you can get a lot that might not be benefits that put more money directly into your paycheck, but they definitely put more money into your pocket.
That sounds like a great idea. Now, what are some tips for staying out of debt and focusing on the path forward towards financial wellness?
Well, I tried playing those scratch-offs, and I haven't won $1 million yet. So I'm going to say probably most of your listeners are in the same boat. Really, savings is not an immediate process. So staying out of debt means that you need to understand how much money you have access to right now and make some smart decisions. And there are some overpriced items right now, like the avocados or cars, that are overpriced partly because of inflation, but also because of supply chain issues still left over from the pandemic. And those are prices that will come down. Inflation will go down, prices will go down. So to stay out of debt, I suggest, that you make a grid of items that you need to purchase or want to purchase, and then look at if there's an expected change in the pricing over the next few months and see if you can wait it out. If not, and you need to make a purchase now, I would suggest that you leverage every online resource that you can. There's some great apps out there, whether it's Capital One shopping app or honey.com, or even, the digital apps for your grocery store or pharmacy like Target or Kroger or CVS that give you access to more discounts. They all help you save money so that you have more in your pocket and can avoid getting into debt. If you do get into debt, though, or if you are already in debt, you want to look at trying to make up a plan that requires a budget. There's some really great apps out there that will help you create a budget, a debt reduction budget. And like I said, Credit Karma and Lending Tree give you access to consolidated lines of credit, home equity loans, personal loans that oftentimes, and especially right now, have a lot lower interest rates than those high interest rate credit cards that you might have your debt on.
Yeah, because I hear in the news a lot about the high percentage of people that are in debt. So but definitely things to think about. Now, do you have any other tips for America Saves Week? And that's this week,
it is,
correct?
Yeah, that's this week. It's America Saves Week right now, but savings takes time, so there's no better time than right now to decide to start saving. And you can start really small. Within the Daily Pay app, if somebody's taking money out to pay a bill, we have the opportunity to do what's called Roundup Save. So if you're taking $18.21 out to pay your electric bill, it will take out 20 and it will put the difference into your savings account. And even though it's only close to $2, it's a great way to get started. And if you do that over time, you'll find that you build that emergency fund. So when something unexpected does happen, you get a flat tire, your washing machine breaks, you'll actually have the money to make that purchase without getting into more debt. And it starts moving you in the right direction. But start small, start simple, but just get started saving.
Great. Any other creative things we can do to tackle inflation?
I don't know if we can tackle inflation, but the last creative tip I'll throw out there, someone told me, and I have yet to try it, but they did validate it. If you're shopping on Amazon, put items in your cart and leave them there. And the merchant will often discount their prices throughout the day or the week, and it notifies you when there's been a price change. So I've heard multiple stories of people getting things that cost over $100 for as little as $20. All these little tips help. You know, there's no shame in looking for ways to cut corners and put money back into your pocket so you can use it for yourself and your family, which is where it should be used.
We can strengthen our coupon cutting muscle. So
That's
that
right.
We can,
it's
help
all digital
ourselves.
now, so you don't even need to. You don't even need to invest in scissors anymore. It's all free and digital.
Good point. Good point. So, where can we go for more information?
You know, if you're interested in learning more about Daily Pay, you can go to dailypay.com. We have a lot of blogs about how you can create financial wellness for yourself or for your employees. And also you can go to americasaves.org, a great partner of ours for America Saves Week, as well as fundingourfuture.us. They all have ideas, tricks, templates, ways to get started saving, because we could all use a little extra money in our piggy bank.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming and sharing your expertise with me today, and have the best day ever.
Thanks so much. You too.
And I hope that was helpful for you as we all try to save. Now that prices are going up, it's like the delayed reaction from COVID. I like to focus on the fact that I actually saved $15,000 during COVID, not buying bottoms or makeup. So it is balancing out now. So hopefully you'll find some of those suggestions helpful for you. And a word from my sponsor, who is me today, with my best-selling book, 8 Ways to Happiness.
Want to find happiness? Well, it's looking for you. 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are by Dr. Marissa Pay is a self-help book on steroids with practical concepts and exercise that will help you find the love you've been looking for inside yourself. It's a cross between I'm okay and you're okay, and you're still okay. And if you do the exercises, you will never hate yourself the same way again. For an autographed copy of this #1 bestseller, go to www.drmarissa.life or just order at Target, Walmart, and Amazon today. You can choose happiness because pain in life is mandatory, but suffering is optional.
And speaking of my best-selling book, 8 Ways to Happiness, the Asian Oprah giveaway today is an audiobook copy of the book. So if you'd like to up-level your happiness, go to drmarissa.life in the subject line, put Asian Oprah giveaway, and you'll get an audiobook copy. And if any of you would like to be a sponsor on this show about hope and happiness, especially now that I'm going live, if you are in any of the 5 million homes that receive my voice and signal in the morning, then please do contact me at drmarissa.life, and I'll make a commercial for you like the one you're going to hear and get you set up with Dr. Marissa, who really wants to highlight what's the best in your product, your service, and your organization. And when we come back, spotlighting poet Pluto Brown for celebrating Black History Month. That's here on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, NBC Sports, and CNBC News radio station KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Audible, Amazon Music, iTunes, TuneIn, and more. And now, as promised, celebrating Black History Month with a spotlight interview on poet Pluto Brown. Enjoy.
I have a lot of Agape friends and family that are tuning in, and a special shout out to Big Brother Michael Bernard Beckwith, who was going to try to come on, but Fridays are a tough day for him. But I know that he's loving that I'm covering Black History Month, as well as the Season for Nonviolence that he has co-founded. So you want to check out his page, Michael Bernard Beckwith, and get involved with that. But last Sunday, we had this guest who got up and started to speak to recognize the Season for Nonviolence. And I started listening very closely because my first thought was, oh my God, Amanda Gorman is at Agape, but different package, but same inspirational word. So I'm calling him my Amanda Gorman. Please welcome to my studio. His name is Pluto Brown. Welcome, Pluto. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here with you.
Absolutely. And instead of talking about who you are, I would like you just to launch into some of the most beautiful words. And I love playing with words. So you just spoke to my heart. You spoke to my mind. If you could just share with us your words that you put together, and then we're going to talk about how you come up with that. All right. So take a breath. Beautiful.
Leave no room for excuse or misinterpretation. Violence is the lowest form of human expression, and it should not be tolerated, nor should it be adored, imitated, recreated, or ignored. It's not something you turn a blind eye to, because that's not what your eyes are for. And that's not what your hands are for. Pushing boundaries, pulling triggers, taking lives, pumping fear and intimidation into our thoughts, into our minds, making us jump when things go bump in the dark of the night. The reason my niece can't play outside lies buried in the memories behind her grandmother's eyes. And that's my mother. I love her, so of course I'd want to punish anybody that hurt her. But an eye for an eye will make this world go blind. Looks like Mahatma Gandhi had it right. This rage, lack, and loss of control will put us in a hole and bring us to our demise, as it slowly burns us down from the inside, and not out of error, but out of terror. And much to violence's delight, it will forever be wrong and left. It will never be right. Violence needs to get left behind. It has worn out its welcome here. It has no home. Not in your coldest day, not through my hardest plight. In Christianity, they say, Satan, get thee behind, and this is just as much a profession. Dropping the chains of manipulation and aggression. Violence has only brought pain and destruction whenever it's been present, like a sickness you cannot cure with medicine. Dr. King and Mahatma Gandhi left us with lives worth of lessons. They iconically walked the walk of handling abuse and oppression, showed us how to retaliate and still not strike back, get beat blue and black and still won't raise a hand, how to get back up when you fall, the definition of a man, holding your ground right where you stand against those that push and provoke you. Because they will hit, they will shoot, they will burn as they try to kill you. And it is a sad truth that for some of you, they will see it through and succeed. Just as they did with these two gentlemen, Dr. Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi, may they rest in peace. They led revolutions without violence, but with a dream. They were met with fire and hoses, and we were left with wounds and bruises that still bleed, and still we long to be free. It's not hard to see that dreams damn near only achieved by those less melanated than me. And that's not to say, or I don't mean that I don't appreciate the privileges given to me. The profiling by local PD, my presence's superpower of making those that don't understand me fear me when they're around me. The instant false positive of criminality, this beautiful position of being the backbone and the back end of this economy. But when I'm finally tired of them ripping and me running, and I choose to stand and fight and do something, I can thank God for Dr. King and Mahatma Gandhi and the blueprint they've left for me. May they rest in peace.
Wow. Chills, chills, chills. Yeah. That was beautiful. So those are some pretty powerful words. The backbone and the back end of our economy. So I guess let's now go back to the beginning. I like to do that with my guests, and he tried to have a pre-interview with me, by the way, and we started talking. I'm like, no, stop. That's not the way I do my show. I love this part. That's why I do lives. I love a challenge, and I want to get to know him now. So I usually have my guests go back to the beginning. So when I, talk to Layla Ali and how she started boxing at the beginning with her dad. So you're younger. So no, I'm not calling you old, Layla. But what do you remember as some of the major milestones in your life thus far?
So for a big thing, I kind of lost a lot of memory when I was 6. I cracked my head open on my sister's birthday. That was an accident, but I don't have much from before then. There's stuff that looks familiar from like photographs or what have you, and I get this like nostalgia. But as far as like memories, not much from before that.
Okay. And
then going into middle school. That was when I had started writing, actually. So that was a big thing. That I had a teacher that, well, actually, she wasn't really my teacher, and then she pushed for me to become her student, and then she became my teacher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was dope. Miss Campbell.
What's her name?
Miss Campbell.
Miss Campbell. Is she watching?
I would hope so.
Okay. If she's not, we'll send her a link for sure.
Yeah. So that was when I had started writing, and a lot of my stuff was like very dark. It was really just, honestly, just the catharsis of it that I was, after. And, not to get too dark, but there were times where there was, I remember having like blood all over whatever I had written. So it was it really was a release for me.
Mm-hmm. Can you share some of the darkness just so we get a sense? I mean, it had to be because your words are so powerful. I know there's another word I can use, but so just as an example.
So I had my bouts and still do. I guess it's never something that you're like cured of. It's always an ongoing battle with depression. And I, didn't know that was what it was as I was in middle school, but in retrospect now, I can identify it as that. And there were times where I was hospitalized for some of my episodes, and in those dark times, like I remember very clearly, I had this room, and it was probably one of the best hospitalizations that I had. But there was a whiteboard there, and I had like dry erase markers, so I could go crazy and write just that's probably a bad choice of words, but I could write everything I wanted to on the whiteboard, and kind of transcribe it later and play with it. I do that a lot. There are times where like I'll go back to change syllables, wouldn't will become would not very quickly. So so I started writing as a catharsis and a form of therapy, I guess. And then the creative twist that comes with it is reassuring. It's like after I'm done with something, I look back and damn, yeah, you did the damn thing, kid. Like that was hot. Hot.
Feeling that feeling of being in the flow and receiving what it was, and this is really the lightness of being that comes from the beauty of the darkness.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, you just reminded me something I was thinking about recently, was that you do at times, when you want to, you have to face the fire to turn away from the darkness, and that's not always easy.
No. I it used to bother me all the time when people would say, "You're so sensitive," and I'd be, and sensitivity and having that extreme like thin skin can actually, now the research shows if you're sensitive, it's 100% correlated to creativity. So a lot of musicians, a lot of visual artists, a lot of artists have depression, have ultra sensitivity, those feelings of black, dark, unworthy, I don't think, So,
no, it's exactly what it was. That, there were times I very clearly remember, and I think this was the cause of me breaking the mirror in my old apartment, was that, or the one I grew up in, was that I couldn't recognize what was looking back at me in the mirror as me. Like it just didn't match. Like it didn't make sense to me.
That's powerful right there. Yeah. Seeing your own reflection.
A feeling of disgust. So.
Yeah. And it's more common than we think. I was speaking this morning, and, the thing that defined me was my self-loathing and self-disgust. And that doesn't match, what I do to try to cover it up with the outside. So the human dis-ease of that is not uncommon. So if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I'm talking to this week, it is poet Pluto Brown. And I'm so grateful to have him here. He just gave the poem that I heard on Sunday that just blew my socks off, blew them off again. I don't even have socks on. So I am so grateful to have him. And I just saw the most beautiful comment, I have to say. It says, and you can guess who said this, Pluto. One cannot express in words how proud a parent can be watching their son rise from the depths like a phoenix. I'm going to cry. That's so beautiful. And that's right. I don't know. I think you got a little bit of the writing gene from him. I think that's definitely beautiful. And Perry, just so you know, the last chapter of the book, my book, 8 Ways to Happiness, is called, in conclusion, Phoenix Rising. And my name in Chinese is Bei Nian Feng, and Feng is Phoenix.
It's all coming together.
It is all coming together. Exactly. So, okay. So that place, you found a way to shine a flashlight on your darkness through writing. And how did you end up at Spirit Awakening? So tell me that part of the story.
So Spirit Awakening, Mama Akuya really, literally, had walked into one of the, darkest places of my time when I was away as a teenager. And so she came into the juvenile hall in Silmar, and by way of a volunteer that worked with Spirit Awakening and was also a teacher at the unit that I was in, because of my mental health history, I was on a certain level of supervision. But because of that level of supervision, there were certain things that we, like going to school off the unit wasn't a thing. And so they had arranged for Mama Akuyo to come over and talk with me. And I remember she had ran out of business cards. Obviously, she's very popular. And so
she's listening right now. She's on her walk. She called me. Yeah.
And so she had, she wrote her information down on the back of another business card, and I taped it into the back of my notebook. And I kept that notebook with me from then through a handful of other facilities in my time away. And then I had also, there was a lady that had come into a facility afterwards, several months down the line, and she had also worked with Spirit Awakening too. So that was a good refresher. As yes, definitely stay in touch with these folks. They are the folks to be in talks with, and they'll pretty much give you a good foundation and support to start with, and put you in point you in the right direction upon release. And so I had started to talk with her after I'd gotten out, and one of the first voices of the unheard that I went to was at the Shrine Auditorium over in USC. And I was just so excited to be there. I think I remember passing out, or like helping sell the Spirit Awakening t-shirts and hoodies. And yeah, I was just happy to be there. So we've been rocking together since then, and we've done the mentoring group is one of the ongoing things that we work together on. And so I started off as one of the students in the group, and now I've grown to kind of become one of the peer mentors in the group. And
so give me the commercial for Spirit Awakening. Who should support it? Who should be part of it? Who should go to it? What is the mission for Spirit Awakening? I mean, you're the living example.
Pretty much, yeah. At Spirit, we're trying to work ourselves out of a job, and save, the system impacted youth, whether that's the foster youth or folks that were formerly incarcerated as teenagers or kids, basically get back on track, and then help them to help folks get back on track as well. So it's each one teach one. And so we're hoping for that wildfire kind of effect.
Beautiful. So I'm going to use your experience at Juvie, and I've heard this statistic, and I just want to validate or, get your take on it, that most of the people incarcerated always are hurt people hurting people. React to that for me. So the level of abuse, the level of self discomfort, the level of having had abuse in their life and now abusing someone else. Is that a pattern correct? I mean, is that true from your experience there?
A lot of the time that is the case. That is what I, seeing you would hear the stories kind of like sitting in the day room of, how somebody's parent used to do this. And then a day later, you kind of, hear a similar story of that person doing virtually the same thing. And then you kind of see that unfold, and so trying to break, and, this is something I've thought about a few times before, is that it's not ever going to be one simple answer to, doing away with this problem. When you have to come at it from different angles, like there's the home life that you have to worry about, there's securing or what have you, or getting that together. And then there's the, the work life, and then ensuring that's together. And then there's the intersection of those. Yeah. And so, it's, it gets to be a long list, but I think starting in moving in a direction is moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. My big brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith, who says hello. He was going to try to pop in and surprise you, but his schedule, I knew Fridays was going to be tough. But he said something on Sunday that really struck me. It's something similar to, you cannot change things unless you become aware of them, right? Like you have to be aware that you're. It struck you too, right? Yeah, but about the society, like we can't change what's happening to our Black brothers and sisters until we become honest about what has happened to our Black brothers and sisters. So this continued denial of white privilege, continued denial that the prison system, the incarceration system is not working, and that's a billion-dollar industry not helping, right? And all the things you talked about in the backbone, the back end of the economy, your privilege. Say those lines again about your privilege, that you walk in a room. I love that part. Say that. My presence is superpower of making those that are around me fear me when they don't understand me. And then the next one?
The instant false positive of criminality.
That's it. So, if you haven't watched 13th, I'm telling my listeners now, watch 13th. It's a tremendously powerful documentary that made the dots connect in my mind why there's so many disproportionate number of Black and brown people in the system. So, and I love your mama Akuyo. She's my satellite sister, because we're out there doing, we're connected by frequencies doing our thing. But she came on and we talked about it. It's not black or white, or is it? Right? In after what happened to George Floyd, the horrific thing that happened to George Floyd. So this is perfect timing, because Jen Potts has just checked in and she says, I'm passionate about unity, but what can I do now? So, and her heritage is Caucasian. And so and this is one of the best things. It's, it's not for just Black Lives Matter to make Black Lives Matter. It's all of ours. And I'm trying, I know you thought I was Swedish, but I'm actually Chinese. And, I have to, as a Chinese woman, also take this on. So what can we do? What can people do, like Jen is asking, who want unity but not sure what to do? So your answer to that. I have an answer, but I want your answer.
So I think that definitely showing, so it can't be, of course, I'm not assuming that, she's not genuine with her, interest in trying to support, but for starters, most folks, it can't just be something that you're doing for, social media. I think there were a lot of folks that, I guess, kind of sort of understandably so, getting out of the house with Black Lives Matter posters in their hands and running to a protest, snapping a picture, and then, running home or whatever. Because of the quarantine or what have you, they were cooped up in the house. And, of course, it was something that was trending. But for starters, definitely being genuine. There's standing in solidarity, and then there's almost this thing of selective solidarity, I'll march with you and, throw my fist in the air or what have you, but I won't take that ass kicking with you, I'm not on the front lines, and willing to essentially die for this reason, I guess in thinking about all of that, there was a bit of that did spill into what I had written, honoring the season of nonviolence and the works of Dr. King and Mahatma Gandhi. It is a sad truth that to get the mission complete, and accomplish this goal, it won't be easy.
And if you'd like to hear the rest of that interview, celebrating Black History Month with a spotlight interview, you can on my free subscribe YouTube channel. We are very close to 250,000 views. Thank you for helping me meet that mark. And that is it for show number 645. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from her loving room, reminding you that it's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace, and through inner peace. Now go forth and multiply the poet that you are, and have the best day ever. See you tomorrow.